You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Monica Ishak, trial attorney and owner at Ishak Law Firm, PA, in West Palm Beach, Florida, focused on criminal defense. Monica, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited.
That's so nice. It's a pleasure to have you. And let me give everybody out there a fun fact and why I love Lawyer Stories, okay? I'm going to open up with this. And it does happen sometimes, but you first submitted your initial story. We haven't posted your updated one. We're going to do that. I know you submitted a little while ago, but your first story, October 15th, 2020.
Yeah.
In the Lawyer Stories archive. So as of it's over 4 years. That's like the length of the time somebody goes to like high school or college. So like we've been for like a long time. And like,
yeah, it's been on
the podcast, all these episodes later. First of all, thank you for your support. Like, thank you for being a founding member at Lawyer Stories Connect. It means a lot to us. We're going to do whatever we can to help you out.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be a part finally.
Yeah, so welcome. It's great to connect with you virtually. Yeah.
I know. It's been so long where I feel like I've known you, and then now it's like finally we're finally getting connected. We're seeing each other face to face.
For sure. It's awesome. So, Monica, are you a Floridian? Like, where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I am a Floridian. I am a true Floridian. So I was born and raised in Palm Beach County, which is where I practice. It's my home. I'm very biased to this location. I think it's paradise. Yeah, I love it.
It's awesome. So never really wanted to go elsewhere, huh?
Yeah, like this isn't even elsewhere. It's Miami. Like I went to Miami for law school and I lived there for.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's not really that far away. So, I bet that. No, I mean, look, the same thing happens here in Massachusetts, right? Like they'll be like, oh yeah, my son he lives in another, he moved away, and it'll be like a town like 5 minutes over. Well, it's like, yeah, I don't really think he moved away that far.
Yeah, no, it's like 20 minutes.
Right. So tell us about like the moment you knew you wanted to be a lawyer. Like, where do you remember? Like, it doesn't have to be like some sort of like, story where you were like wooed and awed, but like, is there a moment like were you watching certain TV shows, or like did somebody tell you were outspoken, Monica?
Oh my goodness!
You wrote the first story. That's the only reason. When your story from 2020, and that
was like. That's a good point, because I don't know if that ties to the point where I was like knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but it was definitely the point since I was a child that I was told that I was going to be a lawyer.
But okay, so tell us.
I think I was just always outspoken. I think I have like. I don't know. Are we allowed to curse on here?
I mean, you do it like low key.
Okay. I was definitely like a shit talker.
Okay, it's not bad.
I still am, So I think like my family was always like, she's going to be a lawyer. She's going to be something. So.
That in the caption of this episode, like Monica Ishak, shit talker.
The shit talker.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my family would love that.
All right. So, yeah. So they would say that. Do you think when somebody in your family says that like that early on, I don't know how old you're talking, but does that like resonate with you as a kid? And then you're like, that's what I'm going to do, sort of?
So it's funny you say that, because as a child, I don't think so when I think of lawyers, I think of lawyers as leaders. Generally, I think most lawyers are leaders, or leaders of their people or their pact or whatever. So I didn't really see myself as one. I didn't really like embody what they were saying to me at the time. I just was like, okay, like I'll take that. Like, I don't know what that really means. I don't think I really fully processed it. And then it didn't really get on my radar to become a lawyer until I ended up going to college. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to think? I have to figure out kind of like which direction. Maybe I don't need to know exactly what I'm doing, but I need to figure out which direction I'm going in. And I come from like a medical family. They're all, yeah. So they're all in the medical field. And I was like, maybe I'll study like biology or something.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't like the back of your mind. It seemed like it resonated a little bit.
Maybe subconsciously, but not like, yeah, it wasn't really there. And then my family is really like, I come from a family of immigrants and they value education. Egypt.
Wow. So
Yeah.
here is parents, your grandparents?
My parents. So my parents moved here in the 90s.
What about that?
Yeah, so I'm first generation American. So I'm the first one born here, but everybody else, my parents and my older sister, they were born in Egypt. And
wait, say that again. Start again. Say that again. I should have started back there. Say that again.
What?
You're what's that?
I said rewind.
Rewind. So you're
Yes.
say that again. What did you say the first word before Egyptian?
What did I say?
Christian Egyptian?
I didn't say that, but we can.
Okay. No. So that's all right. Your parents are Egyptian. Were you born, like when you came over here?
Yeah.
Where were you born?
So my family came from Egypt to Texas and then from
Wow.
Texas to Florida. I don't know exactly what year they moved to Florida because I wasn't born yet. So I was born and raised in Palm Beach County. So my family, my sister's 6 years older than me. She was born in Egypt. So they came here when she was about 2. So I guess you can do the math there.
That's wicked cool.
Yeah. So I would say probably 1991, they moved to Texas. And a few years later to Florida. And then, yeah. So they value education because they don't come from much,
Yeah.
They come from another country and they came here for a reason.
Mhm.
And, yeah. So I don't remember really what I was saying.
No, so that's super interesting. I mean, and a lot of them are involved in the medical profession and
Yeah.
so they, they value education. So, you were born in Palm Beach County. I'm trying to bring myself up to speed. And you went to school there. You moved like maybe 5 miles out of the town down in my.
Yeah.
But so okay. So like, you were just like, what should I do? So you went to law school, sort of thing, right? Like you were.
So what happened was I ended up my family was encouraging me to go into grad school, some sort of grad school. I'm like, what grad? I'm not doing medical school after taking like 1 semester of biology. And then I was like, let me watch some trials online. So I just turned on the O.J. Simpson trial and I watched.
By the way, do you know we had Marsha Clark on this show?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we have her on audio, so check it out.
I definitely will.
She was nice. And Nancy Grace. There's a few other, but yeah, we have an audio of Marsha Clark probably like a year ago, maybe. But anyway, so you saw the trial.
And I think, so I watched the O.J. trial and I thought it was so cool that he got acquitted and like the way he got acquitted, at least at the time,
Planting the seed. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. So but at the same time, in the same breath, I need to say that I was definitely not someone I did not envision myself as a trial lawyer.
Okay.
Speaking to people and speaking in public really scared me. I never did it. I never wanted to do it, but I loved like the idea of it, I guess. So when I watched the O.J. Simpson trial, I was like, that's so badass. Like I need to do that. But how I was going to, so it was just something that I was interested in. And I was like, you know what, let me just try. That's cool. And it happened.
No, super cool. Yeah. So, by the way, Alan Dershowitz, he was like a defense for OJ. He was on the show too. That was like 3 years ago. But anyway,
that's amazing. That's so cool.
So shameless plugs for my podcast, but yeah. So that's great. So Monica goes to tell us about your law school experience, FIU, right? So you were involved with like some impressive activities. Like you didn't take law school like lightly. I mean, not that anybody really does, but co-president of Criminal Law Society, you kind of knew that like you liked it. Vice President of Palm Beach Student Bar Association. How did you get to do that? Like, was that an elected position or?
I don't remember, honestly, but I think that so I went to FAU Law School where there's like so many local people that went there, but also like, I know it's called Florida International University. I think the international part is really more so associated with their undergrad. But I'm not going to say they didn't have international students in their law school because I really don't know. But most of the people I personally interacted with were people that were local. So if you said you were from Palm Beach, it's like, oh, okay, see, that's kind of far.
Okay, got
You know what I mean? So they created, a little chapter for us. And then I think they had one for Broward because it's in the middle. But yeah, one of the few people from Palm Beach. And I was like, I should be a part of this. I don't recall if it was an elected position or not. But
What about criminal law society? Like, that was just something that you decided to get.
that was something I definitely wanted to be a part of because I knew from the jump, like going into law school, that was something I was interested in. I also had a personal experience with someone in my life that, as I was applying to law school, got arrested and put in a position where they were being prosecuted and then like extradited, and it was this whole thing. Yeah, so as I was like kind of getting introduced to the idea of law and like my interest in criminal law was like growing, that happened to me. That was a summer before I entered, or not me personally, like someone close to me, as I entered into law school. So that was an interesting experience. But all of that stuff, I guess, like it's funny because I'm talking about it, I'm looking back and I'm like, I guess that I really did carry that with me because I didn't think about it like in the time. But I was definitely like criminal law. I didn't know if I wanted to do defense or prosecution at the time. I think I was like kind of open, but at the same time, I was leaving myself open to other types of law too. So, because in law school, you're like learning so much.
Yeah, there's a lot coming at you. Yeah, for sure.
From
What was your experience there? Like, did you like law? I know this is like kind of a simplified, boiled up question, but did you like law school? Like, what was your total like vibe with it?
I would say my first semester, I hated it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I felt like I was really like meeting a new group of people. I was really excited, but at the same time, it was just a new, just way of like studying, a new way of like attending classes, like the cold calling and like
Yeah.
all of that. Like I hated it. I hated that. It was really awful. And I was like, why do they hate me?
Yeah, that was terrible.
Why?
Yeah, it was awful. Okay. We had all the good activity. And like, so whenever I see somebody who's been in like an assistant public defender, I know that they have like great experience. And you had like a little over 3 years experience.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what that was like, and like, and any like particular cases you recall.
Yeah, I have, well, so many cases, but that was the best like opportunity and job I could have ever had. It shaped me into the lawyer I am, but like also more importantly, like the person I am. And like, I think it will continue to, but amazing. So I graduated in 2019. So that was a very like, I mentioned that because COVID hit. So like that changed kind of like the way people practiced law at the time. And I kind of experienced the transition of it early on in my career. So that was kind of like a shocking experience. And like, I didn't really want that to happen. Obviously nobody did, but, because I was entering into a field where I'm supposed to be kind of like litigating and in person and like doing a lot of hands-on things, it really did affect my job. So I started in August 2019 and I got my first jury trial, I think, December 2019. I was like, oh my God, I still like, I can remember how I felt and like, what? But, and I graduated at the age of 24. So I was 24 years old. And just came from a different background than most of my clients and ended up just trying this case and then once I tried that first case, it like all the other ones kind of just trickled in. But then COVID hit in March. And that really challenged me as an attorney because I ended up getting placed in, so when you're at the public defender's office, at least in Palm Beach County, they put you in different divisions, like different county court divisions when you start. And then they transition you at certain points of the year based on like who's there, the need of the office, and all those things. So around the time of COVID, shortly after the time of COVID, I ended up getting transitioned over into domestic violence division. And the arrests for domestic violence at the time of COVID, I don't know if you remember, but they were insane.
Did you really see? Tell me about that, like the spike of that. Like what, like, I mean, what, I'm not gonna, I mean, I could.
It was on the news. So that's why I said, I don't know if you remember, because it was like it was a big thing. Like domestic violence cases are going out because they're making everybody stay home, all these things.
So people are just getting like pissed at each other. And I'm not trying to make I would never, it's a very serious issue, but
I personally did not see like a specific COVID case where it was like two people stuck in house together and somebody ended up just getting pissed. And it's always, yeah, there was always, honestly, it's always he said, she said, she said, she said, he said, he said, you know what I mean? It's always one person saying something against the other person. But maybe also because they suspended jury trials at the time. And that was a very heavy jury trial division because of the nature of the case. It's always somebody said something against somebody else. So it's like, okay, can they meet the burden of reason?
So are you doing these all like virtually?
So it's so funny you asked me because they had like this administrative order and like we were supposed to do certain things virtually, but then the specific court judge in the domestic violence court was like, no, we want the public defenders in court because then they would have next day returns. People would get arrested and come into court and then they wouldn't have their counsel because the counsel's on Zoom. And I personally agree, like as a public defender, like I was more than happy to go in, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was masked up and like with my gloves.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was an interesting experience. And so my caseload ended up almost reaching 400 cases during that time because jury trials were suspended. And so I was thinking to myself, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do to make my caseload go down? And all I could think, I don't know if you have this in your state, but we have stand your ground law where you basically argue self-defense and say that the case should be dismissed. And so I filed motion around, and I don't remember what the case was, but it got granted. This judge really dismissed my case. Like I'm shocked.
Stand your ground. You cut out a little bit right there. So say that again, like stand your ground law.
Yeah. So I was saying that in the state of Florida, basically you can assert self-defense and ask the court to dismiss your case. So at the time, because my caseload was reaching such a high level, and the law in the state of Florida was changing actually at the time because it was basically between like, does your client have to testify or not? And that obviously could be used against them in trial. So that would affect your whole entire strategy of the case. But it actually worked out because right before all of this happened, I think it was in the year 2019 that the law changed where they basically said like just filing the motion is enough to shift the burden for the state to prove. They have to prove that it's not self-defense by clear and convincing evidence.
Is that like a good faith motion? Like, do you have to do that in good faith? I mean, like, what if somebody did that and like it wasn't the truth?
No, yeah, yes, I would say it has to be a good faith motion, but at the end of the day, it's based on the court's ruling. The court could see the motion, say, you know what, I don't think this is enough. I think you need to present evidence. And then sometimes they would rule that way. But I think at the time it was almost standard that the judge was like, your motion is good enough. And the state had to disprove your motion and present evidence. So they would have to put on their victim and I would have an opportunity to cross-examine them without my client having to testify, which is amazing. So that's what we did. And it got granted and I was like, this is crazy. So then I started filing them like on not all my cases, but a lot of my self-defense cases. I think I got one denied and I filed probably close to 30. Like over the span of like 3-4 months. And I was just, because jury trials were suspended. So what am I doing all day? Like we have docket in the morning, the rest of the day, we go through evidence, we go through our cases, we're getting new cases. So like, I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So I'm like filing these motions. It really formed me into the attorney I am today because it made me see like basically a different alternative than like, not saying that trial is like wrong or anything, because I love to litigate, love to go to trial. I just think that there are things that can happen before then that can resolve the case or help your case.
Right.
So I learned a lot during that experience, and it was amazing. And I think that it was truly a blessing in disguise, because when I was entering that like time, that era of like COVID hitting and then like my caseload rising, it was like almost like I just took this like really bad thing that happened, aside from what the tragedies that COVID caused, you know, health wise, but like it really like formed me into the lawyer I am today, because I would have never thought to file like stand your grounds. I ended up filing like a motion to suppress my client's identification on one of my cases, like things like that, like just unique, creative arguments that I just never would have thought to do outside of the situation. You know what I mean? So it was just a cool experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And aside from that, I tried a lot of cases there after COVID and before COVID. But
Do they, like, do they train you there? Like, if you're going there right after law school, like, are they like, hey, you have your first trial, like, you're gonna be working with like Joe Smith. He's been doing this for 20 years.
So our first trial is actually completely on you, and your supervisor sits there and just supervises. No, and they basically make sure you don't do anything major that's going to destroy this person's life.
Okay.
You know, like obviously if it's going to be like, but for the most part, they don't. It's a one-man show from beginning to end, jury selection to closing argument. That's your trial, and your supervisor sitting there basically supervising you. So that's your first trial. But after that, you get to sit on trials with people who are mentoring you, which is amazing. It's great.
So it's like so they want to throw you right in there and then they train you.
Yeah, and the interview process is not easy. It's like they ask you to do like I mean, I interviewed at Miami and Palm Beach, so like both of them were very like rigorous and intense, and like they'll be like, okay, I don't remember which one. They were like, do a closing argument for us.
Did they tell you what to argue about? Like,
They gave you a fact pattern.
so like that's like I'm gonna be really competitive to get a job like that.
It is, yeah. So it's yeah, and when you get in there, it's like you don't feel that, but then I think when you get your caseload is really when you're seeing like, okay, I am in the trenches. And I was chosen for that.
Wow, yeah, I mean, because that's like a great place to be and maybe even start, right, for people and for young attorneys, and like, so it's got to be really like competitive to get in there. So nice job, Monica.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think the Palm Beach Public Defender's Office is like one of the best in the state, or the country, I could say. I don't know if that's true, but I would love to say that if it's true. But they, you know, the nerve-wracking experiences that I'm like speaking about are the like so necessary to like make you who you are, and like it really forced me to go into like outside of my comfort zone and like do things I would never put myself through. I would never sign up for that. You know what I mean? Personally, like I just wanted to help people at that point. I was like, oh, I didn't think I was going to get a jury trial 2 months into my job. Like that's so fast. My first legal lawyer job.
Yeah, that's wild. So like did you want to say anything else about that position? Okay, because you worked at a couple other law firms like after that. I don't know what made you leave. You have to tell me like why you leave. Maybe it was time to move on. But you had a couple like short stints, like really short stints in other law firms. Maybe we could talk about that later. We don't have to.
No, we can.
But I guess so. You worked at, you know, and you got some like homeowners property insurance, personal injury experience.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on that a little bit? You know, about the firms, I mean, just like how you kind of pivoted from the assistant PD over to smaller firms.
I really don't know what it was. I think it may have been money, honestly. But you think that
might have been money.
Yeah, like I don't think any like the compensation like for the job of insurance defense is obviously much higher than
Yeah.
public defense.
Yes.
I think that was the motivation, but when I went into it, it was very much so. I don't mean this negatively towards people who work in insurance defense by any means. But I don't think I realized the value of trial work and litigation until I went into insurance defense, because it was a lot of discovery and that's also like I was learning a lot about civil procedure too. So, criminal and civil are they're different worlds.
Yeah.
So I was in still like a learning environment, but at the same time, I was not interested really much in learning more, because I was like, I'm just behind a desk all day. Like I have no human interaction. I'm not, you know what I mean? I just felt like these things about what I love. I didn't realize what it was helping me realize what I loved about criminal defense and like public defense.
So wait, what was the type? Don't tell me the firm, but like, what was the type of law that you went into right after the PD?
So it was generally insurance defense.
How do you make that? I know, like, how do you make that pivot? Like, how do you, and I don't mean, I'm not trying to be like, funny or anything, but here, how do you,
No, I know.
It must have been money, right? Because like and that's fine. I think that's fine. At some point you got to say, let's do it. But were you looking for like criminal defense firms, or like, were you looking for like,
I really think I was looking for something new and just more.
Okay.
Yeah, I just was like, let me just be open.
Let me jump in. Let me ask something. Do you have a mentor? Did you ever have a mentor be like a legal mentor?
I didn't until this year.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, now I'm looking back, I'm doing a lot of things like getting more involved in like local bar chapters and all these things. Like I should definitely started doing this my first year out. Like there's a lot of things I'm thinking about. I mean, it's not like it's too late, but like it definitely would have helped me better in navigating my career and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. So, well, cause just, to go from that sort of seems like an interesting, like if you went to just personal injury or something like, or like,
Yeah.
you were like defense, you're like, all right, let's look at these, let's defend the insurance company. That's okay. I mean, that's good. I mean, I have like, I know people who do it. I think it's a great, but I'm just saying it based on your, your path.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a couple, like a few stints at like these small law firm. We're just going to like jump over that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know you like, we can jump over it, but at every single job I've had, legal job I've had, has been still very important to my career.
No, I get it. I know.
Don't want to like make it seem like it's not a big deal, but I did try a case at every single firm I worked at.
Yep.
At least one jury trial. So I will take what I can get.
No, that's awesome. So I guess my question is like, when did you know it was time to like go back to criminal defense and launch your own firm?
So I'm going to go back because so this is why I said I think it's important that we like just talk about it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going back to it. So from public defense to insurance defense to private criminal defense to in-house counsel at insurance company.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Which was a very interesting experience. So
you probably get a lunch break though, as like in-house counsel and insurance company, right? Like,
yeah. So, but my specific position at the in-house counsel, I was on a trial team. So we would get cases the week before it would go to trial, and they recruited basically a bunch of PDs and state attorneys because they wanted people that just wanted to try cases. And I was one of those people because, like I said, I had left kind of an insurance defense area where I felt like I was just sitting behind a desk, not really doing much, like didn't feel like I was really lawyering, all those things. Not saying that that's the case, but that's how I felt. And then when I went in-house counsel, trial team's completely different. I was like, it was another level of stress where I was working 24/7 around the clock. We would leave the county. They would put us up in hotel rooms and for weeks at a time. And I was like, I need my life back. And I don't quite frankly care about these cases. I don't care about these cases to get.
That was working for who, Monica? That was working for who? No, don't tell me the firm, but what was the type of law? What was the type of law?
So it was in a homeowners insurance company in house counsel. So
Okay, never mind.
yeah, pretty much. So I thought I was missing the trial aspect. You know what I mean? So as I'm figuring out, okay, I don't like sitting behind a desk. Maybe I miss trial. Maybe it can be trial and civil and criminal. And then I went into civil litigation, like trial team, and I was like back to back, like 24/7. And I was like, I do not like this. I miss criminal. And the only thing on my mind was, and ironically, while I'm at these civil firms, I'm getting calls from my old public defender clients. They're like, can you help me? Can you help me? And I'm like, I really want to help you, actually. Like, I felt this like internal pull towards criminal defense this entire time that I was outside of it. Yeah. So I think it really, like, I'm talking about like these jobs, like I did a lot, you know what I mean? The first party, it was first party practice, but it made me realize my love for criminal defense ultimately. So I don't know if I would have had the same experience if I maybe went into personal injury and like actually dealt with clients, and like maybe I would have had a different outcome. But I just think that criminal defense is truly where my like heart's at, and I love it, and I'm good at it. So it's something that I just feel like I gave up on a little too soon, and I had to like learn a little bit the hard way that was where I was supposed to be.
Oh, interesting. So like can I go back to my question? So like what you know was like time to launch your own firm?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. It doesn't skip past it too quick. I think it's a really interesting point. Like when you're sitting at your desk, you're like, I miss defending these people. Like,
yes.
It's a whole,
Yeah.
like,
and then I had a conversation with a friend and they were like, what's holding you back? Like you've had all this experience and I wasn't wanting to go, like, I love the public defender's office, but there's just a certain level of like growth in like life, I think, that I wanted to reach.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also don't want to go back and use them as a stepping stone because I love that office. So I still work with them, which is great. But
like these long cases and stuff.
Yeah, so I had a contract with them. Yeah, they're extra cases, and it's still like I still kind of feel like a public defender.
I feel like if you kept going with like insurance defense and like maybe PI, like you can't get too far away from that experience, right? Like you don't want to spend too many years doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like as connected to.
Exactly. And I was kind of feeling that because when I came back, I was like, I wasn't gone for too long, thankfully. It was like short. But I still felt kind of out of place. And then the newer lawyers came in as prosecutors for like misdemeanor cases. And I'm like, I don't know these people. Like usually when you're in public defense, you know everybody. You know the prosecutor, you know the judge, you know the clerks, like you know everybody. So I was so far removed. I felt like, at least in the smaller cases, like I knew the prosecutors on the bigger cases, but like I was like, I don't know you. This is my home.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. You coming back.
Yeah, so I think I had a conversation with my friend and they were like, just go for it. Like, what is stopping you? And you've had all this experience. And I was like, I guess I didn't think about it that way because I feel like I'm such a young lawyer still and I still have so much to learn. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think I was, I guess, maybe qualified to go forward with it. And then when they, I guess, put it, like, set it out for me, like, you've tried X amount of cases, you've done this amount of motions, like, you've worked on these cases, like, what is the stop for you? And I was like, I don't think there is. So then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was happy in my job. So that made it easy to just, leave the job. But it was just a matter of, am I going to find another one or am I going to start my own firm?
Yeah. Wow. And then you were just like, let's do it. Like, what's the first step you took to like figure out, like,
quit my job?
Okay. Did you want to have clients or did you look at insurance prices for yourself, or were you like,
I just
this? Do I need them? Maybe I'm going to take like 3 weeks off. And like,
I raw dogged it, honest.
You what?
I really can bleep that.
What does that mean? No, I'm just hold on 1 second. Hold on.
I feel like oh my god. No, honestly, I think I just didn't have a plan really. I just was like, I know that I'm gonna take this step. I at the time had my wedding planning business.
Yep.
So that was also another sense of security because that was my side business at the time when I was like practicing law. I was bringing in money through my wedding planning business, and that I ended up closing that and taking the money and using it as my like cushion. But yeah, thankfully. But that also took a sense of security off of me because that was a form of income. So I really was like, I'm just going to, I think it was more of a spiritual experience for me. I think that this is something where I need to be like, this is where I am being aligned into, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's amazing. You feel like it feels right?
Yes.
Maybe it feels right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like it's the only thing that feels right. Like that's why I'm like property damage, personal injury, sure, whatever. Yeah. Like, but it's not me. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate to and we talked about, I mean, somebody talked about this yesterday in the group where they were saying like your identity and being a lawyer, which like I definitely agree, like not tying your identity into being an attorney fully, but like the criminal defense aspect of it, that's like speaks to my soul. Like I'm such a disruptor.
Oh, I love that.
Not the ground. Who's made to break their rule.
I'm putting that in my notes. I will say this. I know like some criminal defense attorneys, whether it be here, like Massachusetts or Florida or wherever, and you do have common threads. Like I feel like there aren't really commonalities between, and I mean that in like a very respectful way. So I think it's interesting. Like you start to interview and talk to people like from different types of law, and like they have a kind of like a common thread.
Yeah,
I see that, and I don't know, something about that. Like I love to connect these people, even though I don't know. Like maybe they have a case one day that they need advice, somebody in Florida, or like maybe somebody in Massachusetts, or maybe somebody in Atlanta. Like we have this like little thing. And by the way, I'm glad you kind of got something out of that roundtable last night we had.
no,
Offers roundtables. So anyway,
so good.
Thank you so much.
I actually really enjoyed it. I was upset I had to log off a little bit early.
So, Monica is a disruptor. Okay. I wrote it kind of bad. I don't think I'm going to be
I'm a shit talker. I'm a disruptor.
Great caption. So, did you always know you'd be an entrepreneur? Like, did you think like at some point you'd have like a bit, like, cause you had the wedding business, right? Like the wedding planning business. And now, you have your own legal business. So like, did you always know like it was going to be something?
No, I did not know that. So it's funny because like there's so many things that happen in my life that like it's like, oh, I should have known, but I really didn't know. But I think I started my wedding planning business only because I was always interested in being a wedding planner. So I was like, how am I going to become a wedding planner as a lawyer? The only way I can do that is the only logical way I thought I could do it was by starting my own wedding planning business. And at the time, my family was throwing like all these crazy parties, and I was always the one like coordinating, managing it. And I was like, so I was like, let me start my own business. So I did it, and I actually like made money off of it. And I was like getting people that were interested in it. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, but I will say that is the business that I needed to like experience and own and manage to be able to do this. So I learned a lot of like hard business lessons.
You mean because like financially, like saving money? Is that what yeah.
Not just that, but like hiring people, delegating, letting
people working for you.
So those were things I should have done. I did not do in my first business.
Yeah.
And also discounting my prices up front before people even ask. Things like that. Like I was always feeling very much so like I couldn't present my worth because I didn't feel worthy almost. So
we talked about that last week.
Yes, exactly. I don't think I was there for that part, but
that's sort of how we opened up, actually.
Oh,
we'll do another one. We should do another one about mental health. I think it's huge. I think a lot of us deal with it. Some of us don't, but
Yeah.
I think like that's a big thing. But okay, no, that's interesting. I think that's some interesting points, and I hope you don't do that with your legal fees.
Exactly. So no, that's exactly what happened. So I learned these like lessons from wedding planning and transferred them over. And I did have so I did have legal mentors, but I did have business mentors, I would say, from the beginning of my career. But they were always telling me those things, like, don't do that, don't do that. And I was like, I gotta learn it the hard way. I'd be breaking the rules.
No, I know it's difficult. It's difficult. No, I run into that like with not really, being in like an area, like a new frontier, like not knowing how to value it. It's been, well, that's why, we sent out like an email to everybody saying, hey, like, I think this might work a little better, like that sort of thing, like pricing tiers and like that. You never know. But you have to start. You have to start somewhere or you're never going to do it. And you have to figure it out as you go, and just hope good people are with you to help you sort of along on that journey, give you good advice, guidance. And so like, we've had that's great. I mean, and you have to figure it out. Like you figure it out by doing it, right?
Exactly.
By the way, congrats. You've opened for like, what is it? Is it a year? I said it earlier.
Almost a year.
Almost 10 months.
Yeah. You said 10 months, 2 weeks.
10 months, 2 weeks. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. That's what the LinkedIn's.
Well, LinkedIn's math is better than our math.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's so cool. And yeah, and like I did actually have in my notes, you've mentioned imposter syndrome, and we spoke about this at our Lawyer Stories Connect roundtable. How do you handle it? How do you deal with it? How do you overcome it in the moment? Like, do you let it just like go right pass through you, or like it's a difficult topic, I think, for a lot of young lawyers.
Yeah, for sure. I think it depends on like what setting I'm in. But I think it starts with just being aware of how I'm feeling. And like, for instance, before going into like a room full of lawyers and saying, hi, my name is Monica Ishak and I own my own law firm and I'm, 5 years out, I feel like just generally as a young woman attorney walking into a room, I already feel kind of like, maybe I should retreat a little bit. You know what I mean? Like maybe I shouldn't be so fully take up so much space. Because you don't want to, whatever thoughts are going into my head at the time. But that's been the one that I've been dealing with lately. And it's like, just like telling myself like, okay, you already started your business. Stand on it. Stand on your business. At this point, it's almost like I'm forcing myself because it's like, not in a fake it till you wait and make it way, but just like, no, you're going to have to like, you're going to have to go in and do that thing. You don't want to say that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to, you know what I mean? But you're going to have to do it. Like, I'm just patient getting myself in there. So that's what I've been dealing with lately. But I dealt with imposter syndrome, like even entering into law school when I did my first jury trial, even actually doing my trial advocacy class, I was whispering in court. Like,
oh, really?
At
least you did. At least you did it, Monica. Like, honestly, and I know this show's about you, but let me tell you a little something. My law school, I mean, it's a lot of why I ended up starting this, right? Like, because I avoided those classes. I would have loved to have been in there in trial ad and like being me, like the person that I think I could have been in front of like the fake jury and like just trying it and like, who cares if I fucked up? Excuse my language. But at least I never even gave myself the chance to go into that class. And when I had the dean of my law school, the current dean, on the podcast, I was like, and I asked another dean too. I had another dean on the podcast. I was like, I asked them both the same question. I said, if you had an alumni 10 years out who said, hey, like, I didn't take it, and I'm like way further than 10 years out. I'm like, I didn't take trial ad, but like, I don't know. I didn't have the nerve to, like, can I come survey that class and do it now? You know what I mean? Because like, there are things that like, I don't regret anything because it was what it was back there, but like that I just didn't do, would have done it. I just, I probably would have loved it. I pushed myself a little. I probably would have loved it. Like I would end up doing personal injury, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So the fact that like you went in there and you were just like whispering, like that's okay. Like, cause I get it,
I have to give my friend credit because she really pushed me to take that class.
Okay. Yep.
I did not like really want to sign up for this.
There should be more classes like that in law school, honestly.
They should require it.
I mean, people like you talk about having people from like, you know, the medical profession, they have it. I mean, it's so tough, but at least they get that hands-on, like, you know.
Yeah, they get rotation, they get residency. We don't have that, and that's part that contributes to the imposter syndrome because you're like, I've never done this before. Help! Like somebody, like, don't just throw me in the fire. But I think like learning by fire is really it sucks. It really sucks, but it's so invaluable. Like you will never forget that lesson because of what happened in that instance. For
people want your choice to like become
exactly.
That's it. I think that's it exactly. So, because you did it, right? You did it. So
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit for that.
Thank you.
How did being like a public defender help you see like society a little bit differently?
So it honestly at first was like I was really, and I know this probably makes me sound like kind of like I come from another world, I think. But it really broke my heart. I was like, people's reality, like this is people's reality. This is people's everyday. And it was really hard because at first it was like all about my anxiety and like how I'm feeling and like presenting in court and like all these like internal things that I was feeling. And then when I like began to learn how to practice law or like those things became a little bit more comfortable, it started to really see that this is not about you, girl. This is not about me. This is about me. And like I think that a lot of lawyers, like they walk into court and they want to make it about them or they think it's about them. But at the end of the day, it's not about you at all. It's about the person that you're standing by. And that also like stuck with me because when I went into insurance defense, I was like, I'm not willing to die on the sword for this insurance company. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like it's not happening. If I'm going to get locked up, it's going to be for like an individual. Yeah. So things go south in court real quick. But the way it shaped the way I view the world, I think I have a lot more empathy, a lot more compassion, it taught me how to ask questions, be more curious, investigate, not jump to conclusions, see the other side of the coin, drink the Kool-Aid.
Yes.
I think that it was so important for me to experience just to be a better person, even, you know?
Yeah. So, Monica, tell us more about the Ishak Law Firm. Like, who's coming to you for help right now?
Like, what kind of cases do I have?
Yeah.
I would say, okay, so I have a lot of DUI and batteries, which I don't mind having. Those are fun. They're kind of basic for me. Yeah, they're like a standard, like, you know, they're fine. Yep. I don't have anything too crazy right now.
No, but that's okay. I'm not asking for like crazy. Yeah, I want to know like who's coming to you. Like if somebody's out there listening, like, wow, I really like this girl. Like, or this I'm sorry, like I just got like the DUI. Like I just battered somebody. Like, you know, I want to know who can come see you for help.
Yeah. So I mean, I handle pretty much all matters for criminal defense. I don't have any specific type of charge that I don't deal with.
Okay.
But most of my cases right now are batteries, DUIs, battery on law enforcement officer, aggravated battery, like low-level felonies, misdemeanors.
And where are you so you're in West Palm Beach. You're located there. Like, where do you practice? Do you practice all over South Florida?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I try to stay away from Miami. I just think it's a little too congested for me. I have friends down there. They can take care of it. You know what I mean? But besides that, I'll do Broward, Miami, Martin County. So the 3 counties, yeah.
So, you know, I read on your website. Your website's awesome, by the way. Great.
Thank you.
You have really cool clips. I hope people check it out. I really like your website. You're a criminal justice reform advocate.
Yes.
Tell me what that means.
So I haven't actively really done anything under that.
So can I recommend a podcast episode of ours for you? criminal justice.
I would love that.
Allison PA. She was pretty recent, and she does a lot of like computerized, like technological work about like trying to find the right punishment for like the crimes. I know I'm totally speaking this incorrectly right now, but
No,
if you go check it out, like she has an awesome thing. Like she's working with some different like defenders' offices, and like it's a really interesting process that she has.
yeah. No, that's amazing.
All right, so what do you got them? Sorry.
No, I wasn't gonna say.
No, so what does it mean to be like an advocate? Like,
Yeah.
like where do you want to be with that? Like, what ideally would you like to do?
So, kind of along those lines, just because I see a lot of the impact that my clients suffer from because of minimum mandatories, sentencing requirements, the score sheet. I don't know if you guys have something similar to a score sheet that we have in the state of Florida. It's just
A score sheet?
it's a math equation that basically tells your minimum. It has all of your history, criminal history, if you're charged with a felony, all of your criminal history, and it tells the prosecutor the minimum, and the judge and us the
Right.
minimum in months that you can serve in the Department of Corrections. And then it's between that and the maximum that you could get if you lose at trial. So there's just a lot of, I think, biases and issues that go into that. And I don't really, I mean, in terms of reform for criminal justice, I think there's so much work that needs to be done. But my heart, aside from sentencing, is really on like getting people back into like their lives. I would love to help with like reintegration and like getting people back into society, rehabilitation. Like I just feel like those are things that need to be focused on. And I don't know, I was in court. I mean, it was probably within the last year, so I don't remember what case it was, but the prosecutor actually like quoted or cited the law or like a case that said like sentencing is for punishment. And I was like, hearing that to me is so crazy because I'm like, I get that, but that sounds so like just we are way past that. We are way past that time. We need to like be able to help people get back into society, and the fact like the numbers are the numbers among like around the world, and there's a reason that we have a crazy recidivism rate in the States, in America. You know what I mean? Like our justice system is not working. So like that is really what I care about. And I hate when people ask me the question of like, how do you sleep at night? Like representing people, things like that. You know, I mean, like if people, I know, I mean, I don't get personally offended by it, but I just hate that question because it gets me into this topic. Like,
I'm here. No, I get it. I get it. Criminal defense attorneys are like badass. So what advice do you have for someone who wants to launch their own firm?
Someone who wants to launch their own firm. The right is just, I would say, just do it and don't give up. Like, I know it's only been like a short time since I started my firm, but obviously it's the beginning. So there's like months where I'm like and weeks where I'm having like some downtime.
Ebbs and flows.
Exactly. And the temptations are there, especially when you're qualified, because you're like, I can literally get a job tomorrow. You know what I mean? So I think it's just like being able to stay strong and hang in there and just know that there's like the benefits are coming, and they do come. Like, and I've seen it myself even in this short time. So I think just having that grit and like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and just having faith that you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
you're
strong and compassionate advocacy for your clients. I read that, I think, on your website. What does that mean to you?
That is like, that like speaks to my soul. My logo is a lion.
I like it.
Yeah, and actually that came because my mom, she calls me a lioness because
Nice.
probably because we should talk. But I took it and ran with it. I loved it. Yeah, because I was having the times where I would like talk to her about like not feeling like I was good enough, or like all of the time she's like, you go out there and you be the lioness that I know you are.
Yep. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, that's all right.
Exactly. So strong, compassionate advocacy is like, I think aligns in my head, it aligns with the lion and who I am. And I think that it goes to everything I learned as an attorney at the public defender's office. Like, I remember my first, so it wasn't my first trial, but it was my first not guilty. Right before my closing argument, I went into the hallway and I bust out into tears after the evidence was presented and everything. And I was like, we are losing this case. We're going to lose this case. We're going to lose this case. And my co-counsel at the time, who was a mentor, was like, these are the cases that PDs win, Monica. Like, no, you got this. Like, and he like was like speaking to like everything I needed to hear in that moment. He was saying it. And I went in there and I killed it, and we got a not guilty in like no time. And it was just amazing, but it wasn't because of like how great my closing argument was. You know what I mean? It really, because I presented, like, I believed in what I was saying. I presented in what I was strong in what I was presenting in, and I cared about what I presented in. And that in itself was like the best, like, it shows the zealous advocacy, you know what I mean? So empathy, compassion, being strong and being there for your clients. I think being almost like family with your clients is like makes you the best lawyer you can be for your client. So I love that you pulled that from my website.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That just goes to every.
It's really important. And,
Exactly.
for sure. Is there anything we left out, Monica, that you wanted to
I don't think so.
share today?
No, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm very honored. I'm very grateful. And thank you so much. I feel like it's been like a long time coming, and I really wanted to finally meet you.
It's really nice.
Get your autograph eventually.
I've had that opportunity. I will be but I was the 16th in Miami. Invite wherever you want. We'll have a good time. Thank you so much. So is there anything else, or we're okay?
Yeah.
Monica Ishak, West Palm Beach, Florida, criminal defense attorney. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay right there. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in wherever you are in the world today. Enjoy yourselves. Cheers.